thank you for joining us for another episode of That Solo Life, the podcast for PR pros and marketers who work for themselves, like me. I am Michelle Kane. My company is Voice Matters, and I am here as ever with my wonderful co-host. She is Karen Swim. She is the leader of the pack over at Solo PR Pro. How are you, Karen?
I'm doing great. Who has a case of the Wednesdays? Not me.
Not me. No, I'm not going to think about that. I might be my Friday tired on a Wednesday or maybe my Thursday tired on a Tuesday. No, it's all good. It's all good. Let's just call it what it is. It's January.
Yeah.
The air is
for the new year.
Yeah, the air is dry and so is our skin.
Oh, so true. And the climates, for those of you who live in warmer climates, but one of the things that you are missing out on is how dry your skin gets in winter.
It's delightful.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely whip out the humidifiers because as you're sitting there on your couch at night going, is it COVID? Or is it just dry heat? It's dry heat. You always feel this way. Right. Okay. But you know what? I don't know. I like the four seasons, so I guess I can complain about them. But that's not what we're here for. We are still getting back to basics this month at That Solo Life. And today we're going to talk about time management, because I'm sure as we've all, whether we secretly know that we're kind of lying to ourselves anyway, but we start a new year with a fresh look at everything. And that includes how you spend your time, how you manage your time throughout your workday, throughout your day in general. So it's always good to just remind ourselves that, yeah, you know what? Not only as solos and business owners do we have some control over how we spend our work hours. It drills down to how we spend the moments of our day and how can we best do that to reach that ultimate goal of creating the best life that we can lead. So we want to talk a bit about that today. Yeah, I do too. I do. Yeah. I find I still live and die by my Google Calendar. It has become my best friend. And I try to block out either if it's not specific tasks or just the general idea of, okay, what are my hot hits for today?
Yeah. So for me, and I think that this really depends on where you are personally in this particular season, because I think that's really the key, is to always examine what matters to you. If we start there, what matters to you? What is your mission? Are you doing things that really serve your true purpose? Because we ultimately want to spend our times in ways that fulfill us. Now, that can fulfill us financially, physically, mentally, socially, psychologically. But I think the key is that, not different from the hustle culture, which is like, go, 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 do.
Right.
Rest is also effectively using your time, because if you're building in those restful moments and restful days, that does fulfill you. It fulfills you mentally and physically and psychologically. And so start there by being super intentional about what's in your space. And this definitely applies to clients. One of my colleagues and I, she's, my closest colleague, we work on nearly all of our accounts together. We've been chatting a lot this month about where we want to be, for the rest of the year. And we have made a decision to really pause on accepting new business for this quarter, because both of us need a little more time. We both have big losses at the end of last year, and we just need some healing time. And the clients that we have right now, we love them. We have a wonderful roster of clients that we really enjoy serving. And it's made us really think about being even more intentional about the types of assignments that we take. And I think as solos, sometimes there's this fear of doing that. And sometimes you take a client that is not ideal, but it fulfills you in one area. That's okay. If you take a client that is fulfilling your financial goals or fulfilling your professional goals of working in a certain space or working on certain types of assignments, but maybe they don't check every single box, you're making a decision. You're being intentional. And so I think intentionality is the beginning of time management.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's, like you said, if you take a client, if it's solely for financial reasons and it's not like, lighting up your world in other ways, I mean, that's okay. Even though we are creating our own, work lives here because we can, it doesn't mean that, work has to be blissful all the time. That's why they call it work. And that's okay. I think it is important. And I've even tried to sit with myself a little bit, and not so much maybe from, I guess it does really come into time management of not being so quick to just dash off the usual, yeah, yeah, that's great. We'll do it this way. Email for things that come up, say every year. I've consciously tried to sit and go, hold on, wait a second. Okay. We've always done this certain presentation this way. Is that still working? Is that still what's best? Can we take the time, not a ton of time, but can we take enough time that's effective to maybe repurpose this in a different way? Or, so even in addition to your scheduling of time, just really not rushing yourself through your day, I think
Yeah.
is also important in certain things. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I know I've been catching
Yeah.
myself of like,
And I
yeah,
know, and we're going to give you some concrete things that you can do, but I think, often we do it backwards. It's kind of like when you're choosing technology, you don't really look at the whole problem,
right.
but you just go right to the solution. And so when it comes to time management, I think that we too can be guilty of going out and going, okay, I'm going to do, this method and this method and this method. And then you try to
Uh,
fit all of these things in this method,
yeah.
but you're really not addressing kind of the fundamental core. Like, if you're feeling like you're not managing your time, what's at the center of that? Is it that you've taken on too much? Are you focusing on the wrong things? Are you guilting yourself into getting things done that really are not important, that are not a priority, not
Yeah.
only to you, but to the clients that you serve? You have to think about these things. One of our solos shared this article this week, and it was about pricing. And it was from a contractor that talked about how he evolved from being a doer to being a thinker, and that people
Yes.
invest in his thoughts and what he thinks. That is our greatest asset as solos. It's not the doing, it's not the tactical stuff. It's being able to think. Just this morning I said to Carolyn, I said, this response from our client really reinforced for me how some people are super linear, and there's nothing wrong with that. But one of my strengths is that I see that straight line, but I see what's under the line. I see the width of the line. I see
Right.
what's down the line. I see what's behind the line, what's in front of the line. I see the different colors.
Right.
That's a strength because that creativity allows me to see it not just, from point A to point Z. So it
Right.
opens up a world of possibilities of what I can do for them when they only think about, they very narrow definitions and, well, can we really talk about that? Or can we really do that? And so, I
Right.
mean, you have to allow yourself time to do that. A lot of times, this has been me, so let me just raise my hand and say, been there, done that far too often. I've often felt like I was wearing a big catcher's mitt
Oh,
and just catching stuff that everybody was throwing at me in life from every which way of loose. I would catch that ball and I would put it on a list. And
yeah.
then I would look at that list and I would just go through that list. I
Yeah.
was just doing, 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 doing. And I wasn't doing it because I wanted to look good or appear busy. It's just that I had put myself in a position where I was so busy catching the balls and making sure that none of them fell that
Yeah.
I wasn't being intentional. And so if
Right.
that's you now, don't guilt yourself. Don't feel bad because we never want that. It's just take a beat and
Yeah.
really think like, am I doing the things that I really should be doing that are meaningful for the work that I do and for me personally? And if not, what's a step that I could take today to begin to move closer to where I want to be? Because
Yeah.
it's not all going to happen overnight. It just
No.
isn't.
Oh, no, it's not because, it depends on how quickly you internalize new patterns and things. I know sometimes, I always say I'm a quick learner, but sometimes it takes a while for certain, especially when it applies to good habits you're trying to ingrain in yourself. And I've been in the same position many times, and I always felt like that commercial where the woman was walking around with the Post-it notes all over her. That's usually how I start feeling. I'm like, who's slapping these Post-it notes on me? Come on, man. And not realizing one exercise that I like to do, even if it's not physically, but mentally, just sit and think, or even just get a piece of paper and put your core element in the center. Like, what's your core? Okay, well, I have to pay my bills. I have to stay sane. Okay, what can help me achieve that? All right, well, focusing on building my business, and well, what goes into that? Serving my clients well, making sure I'm juiced enough to be creative for them, because that is a huge deal. And I think sometimes, I'm not going to say we're comparing, but when you put yourself alongside people who do other kinds of work that may be just more productivity based, it's really not an equal footing, because we do need kind of that daydreamy time to think and ponder and, have the TV on maybe. And, oh yeah, maybe you should check in on the third hour of GMA because you might trip over something. Don't overthink it. Like sometimes I do. Like, all right, what's meant for me will come. But, to do that exercise of, okay, well, what does that look like? So I know I need to pay my bills. I need to provide. I need to, make sure the lights stay on and my business grows. All right. Well, what goes into that? And then, just keep adding the layers. Well, what is that though? Does that mean popping out for a 15-minute walk? Yeah, because you have to keep yourself fresh and just, replenished. And I know one of the copywriters I used to work with, that was how she thought things through. Her office was in the back of the building and it was a brownstone. So she'd pop out the back door. We'd just see her randomly walking in the front door. And I'm like, oh, she's working on copy again. That was part of the process.
It was part of the process.
Yeah.
And I, exercise and any type of exercise for me always stimulates my brain cells. I think that's probably true of most of us, and we don't use that enough in our arsenal of things. And so, we want to leave you with practical steps. And so I would say first step is, someone had me do this exercise many years ago, and I found it beneficial, and I do it, periodically. Is to just close your eyes, set aside some time where you can be quiet, where there's no distractions, and just close your eyes and imagine your day. From the time that you wake up in the morning to the time that you go to bed at night, what does that day look like? What is your ideal day? Like, take away, this is your chance to just free flow and imagine, where are you? What time are you waking up? What are you doing during that day? Where are you working? Are you in a brownstone in, Harlem? Are you, living on a farm where horses are roaming free? Whatever your jam is, just let your mind just go to that place. Like, if you could just create and make this ideal day happen, how you want to spend your work days, what you want your days to look like, and then write all that down. And then examine the things about what you dreamed in your mind and what your reality is. How can you make those things go closer? We can't pick up and move to, another country often on a dime. That, it does take some work and some planning, but there are things that you can do to really make your dream your reality. And so for me, when I do that exercise, it helps me identify things that may be inhibiting me from being at my best. Like, when I do that, and if I'm like, and I write it down and I look, it's like, I shouldn't take this type of client anymore. Or, I've been doing this. That, I don't really like that. Let's not do that. It can just, because in your rational mind, you make excuses for a lot of things. But when you take off all of those fences, it does allow you to see some blind spots. And so start there. That's a good, and again, it's all about first understanding what time means to you. And this is, like Michelle said, there is no comparison. We have to stop doing that. We have to stop comparing ourselves to other people. Well, look at what they did. They ran a marathon, they wrote a book, they started a podcast, and it's got 100,000 views in the first month. Okay, good for them, because that's your celebration. That's their moment. And you know what? Let's do a happy dance with them. Let's throw confetti and, whoop it up, because that's awesome. But that's their dream and that's them. And even if all that you've been able to do today is get your freaking self out of bed and put on some clothes and get into your office, we want to applaud you.
That's right. That's right.
Celebrate that victory.
Yeah.
Seriously, celebrate wherever you are, because the good thing is, as long as we're breathing and alive, we have an opportunity to be better than we were in the last moment.
Yeah. And you know what? You may think the things you do day in and day out are kind of rote, if you're in that kind of lane, but guess what? It all has a good impact, just
Yeah.
because it feels rote to you. So don't get down on yourself there. And I know we've rung this bell many times of it's not just your time, it's managing your energy within that time. So, save your best energy for your highest priorities, and then, let the rest trickle down. And, because if a group you volunteer with once a month is, getting a little too time intensive, you're in all rights to take a moment and go, you know what, wait a second, hold on, what's going on here? Okay, no, I have to realter, revisit how I'm spending my time and my energy. Do I have enough energy to do all these things? And what serves everyone best? And I know some days I'm an early bird, some days I am not, but guess what? I get the same amount of work done. So, I have tried to quash my Pennsylvania German Quaker ethic bloodline of, you must get up with the sun or not. I'm like, wait a second, if I'm not at my best getting up with the birds, I'm not doing anyone any good, So if that means an extra half hour or something, or whatever that means for you, if you're still accomplishing what needs to happen in your world, awesome.
And I mean, I think, so for long periods of time, I think 2020 was a year that I was a 5 a.m. riser, got up at 5 a.m. And by 11 o'clock, it felt like, I was smoking. I had just
Right.
done things. I was on fire. It was great. It was beautiful. I actually loved it. In this season, not getting up at 5 a.m. Lucky to be up by 7:30, if I'm being really honest. And, for the past couple of weeks, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's okay. Because your body, your mind, there are just different things that you go through that maybe, but I don't feel guilty about not getting up at 5 a.m. When I was doing that for that year, so many great things happened and I loved it. But right now, my body's just not in that position to do that. I may one day go back to that. But here's the difference. I actually also now work fewer hours, but I get more done because I let go of some of what I heard somebody, I read some CEO, I think it was the Bolt CEO actually, because they've signed on to this 4-hour work week. And he talked about a lot of work being theater. I've eliminated a lot of the theater.
Isn't that true?
Here's the tips that you can still. Number one, make friends with your calendar.
Yes.
Today, go into your calendar and book out things, block out time for you to focus. This is just time for you to focus, think, be strategic. No meetings, no work, no distractions. Block it all out. Block that time into your calendar weekly. I would say daily, but if you need to take baby steps and you can only do an hour a week initially, commit to that hour by putting it in your calendar.
Yeah.
Second is that you want to book out your days off. Do it. I don't care if you have a plan. I don't care if COVID is raging around the world. I don't care if the CDC says don't leave your house. Go into your calendar right now and mark off all the days that you want to be off for 2022. Yes, the entire year. Block off time for you to exercise, whatever that means to you. If it's 10 minutes of strength training, if it's hopping on the treadmill for an hour, if it's going for a hike every morning, whatever your jam is for whatever length of time, put it in your calendar. Now, the reason that I say that is because when you put those things in writing, and it could be ink, writing like a real physical journal or your Google Calendar, you'll find that you will schedule around them. And now it's not relying on you to find time within each day. It's already there. So now all you have to do is follow it. I've gone so far as for my focus time, those are blocked out from scheduling. So if people want to book on my calendar, it doesn't even allow them to book themselves in those time slots. And so
Right.
the decision is out of my hands. It's almost like having an assistant who manages your calendar who's like, I'm sorry, Miss Swim is not available at that time and date. The world will not stop turning. I mean, I can't say this enough that we sort of bend to everybody because we think that it's our job to make life so much more convenient for everyone else except for ourselves.
Yeah.
But you can't bring your best self if you're not allowing time for these things. And so I
Yeah.
promise you that 99% of the time, a client who wants to meet on Wednesday during your focus time would really be okay meeting on Thursday when you're free or at a different time on a Wednesday. You can always work through schedules. There's very few things in our world that are so immediate that we have to leave ourselves out of the equation. Even with media interviews, haven't you noticed how reporters will often have some slots and our tendency is to feel guilty and go, oh, but they're available at this time slot and I'm not really doing anything. It's just focus. Don't pick it.
Right.
If they give you other options, choose one of those other options.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've done, and I have done this successfully for the past year, hardcore, and it's, I've helped other people to transform it, get away from meeting culture. 90%
Yes.
of meetings are so needless. I do not meet with my clients weekly. Most
Yeah.
of them, it's not even biweekly. The reason I don't do that is because I've shifted from theater, because a lot of meetings are just theater. And I get the relationship building and all of that. I am somebody who really prides myself on having long-term relationships with the people that I work with. They
Yes.
know that I care about them as human beings, and that's the most important thing to me. I am able to transmit that and to build relationships and even friendships with my clients without meeting all the time.
Right.
And so I spend the time focusing on getting work done and not driving myself into the ground with 12-hour workdays, 10-hour workdays. And
Yeah.
so we tell clients from the beginning, even in, before we've even put anything to paper, before we get to the onboarding, how we work. And we
Yeah.
talk about the culture of meeting. And clients love it. They
And
love
what,
it. You don't
yeah.
feel like to be like, boom, blah, 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 that you're having a meeting for something that really could have been an email.
Right.
We keep in constant communication is that most of our clients use Slack. So I am on Slack. And again, you can adapt this based upon your own work style. But I find that for these small communications, my email inbox is a lot cleaner. I'm not getting 1,000 emails because quick questions can go on Slack. And on Slack, I can even, do a voice message and then they get the
Right.
voice message, or we can hop on a quick call within Slack. So
Right.
I stay in communication, and the communication is actually better because it's more frequent, but it's short.
Right.
So we have a,
Yeah.
meeting every single week because the PR god said that that's what you're supposed to do.
Oh, seriously.
1
And
year of this.
yeah.
Further, we build in meeting blackouts like Labor Day week. We call that our meeting free week. And we let all of our clients know months in advance that on Labor Day, we take a reset. We are working, but we're not taking any meetings. That's our way of resting, allowing our staff to catch up and to enjoy, that week. And we don't do meetings. We stole that from a client who gives their entire organization Labor Day week off, not as PTO, but it's just a week of rest and allows them to reset.
Nice.
And we said, let's do that for meetings. Our clients love it so much that they've tried to implement it in their own companies. And so they're, ditching meetings, you will be surprised at how much time that gives you back in your day.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. I am done for the day by 4:00 every day.
Yeah.
I'm working a little bit later, but it's not, it really is like 4:00. My dog and I are at our date at the park. We
Yeah.
go to the park every day. We play with our friends. And
I think culturally we've all been over I love how you say that meetings as theater for a long time. And The pandemic's done some horrific things, but some silver linings have been, you know what, we really don't need to have a meeting about this. Let's just have an email. I know even with my clients, because it's, either not been prudent to get together or whatever. It's like, you know what, we know how to find each other. Some of them I text, most of it's fine via email and Zoom, and even committees that I'm serving on. Like, oh, shall we start to get together? And most of us are like, no. And like I value my clients as people for who they are. And part of my service to them, and I'm sure many of us are the same, is to serve them in the way that's most efficient, expedient for them. So, my accountants, they don't want another meeting. They're already, buried in, yeah. I don't know if they're ever going to tunnel out with all the changes and things. So, meet them where they are. And a lot of times it's a heck of a lot more efficient. So much more efficient. And, just do yourselves all that favor. And, when you say to schedule in the time or block out time, just think of the friction that removes from your life. I think we don't consider how many of the tiny decisions we make contribute to our decision fatigue of the, should I call them then? Should I do this? Then? It's like, just schedule it. And then you don't have to go through, even if it takes you 5 seconds to go through the decision process, that's still, think of it when you defrag your hard drive. Does anyone still do that? I don't know. But when you're defragging your hard drive, all the little things your poor computer had been doing, and then they get a little refresh and they think, oh, this is so much better. Just try and remove any drag that you have on your day, just the way you do business by, taking a minute. In fact, do it right now. As soon as you listen to this, after you've said goodbye to us, pop an hour on your calendar. And I love what you said about doing it. Just start weekly, and as someone who has once again gone through her to-do lists on the app that she uses, as opposed to the Google Sheet that started, because you're like, I don't have time to do that. Guess what? You have time. Take the time at the end of every day to check in with where, here's where everything stands. These are my priorities for tomorrow. And then check in with yourself and see how much better and more energized you feel starting that workday.
Yeah. And I mean, there's all kinds of, once you've mastered why, why are you doing things that you're doing? Are they aligning with your purpose, your mission? Are they fulfilling you? Are they fulfilling your mission and purpose? And you've really gotten that core down. And then you've built in these blocks of time for yourself so that you are not having to make a decision about balance every day. Then there's all kinds of other tips and tricks that you can use within your days to get more done. And what we'll do is maybe we'll do a blog post about this, like outlining some of the, tips and tricks and methods that you can use to become, more productive and efficient once you've figured out this foundational step. Because those are helpful too. There's and there's a method for everybody.
That's
no matter
true. Yeah.
Work, no matter what your work style, there is a time management method for you. But before we get there, we definitely recommend taking these foundational steps first, because it'll add a lot of clarity, and then you'll find that you can eliminate things. And just in eliminating some of these things, you already reclaim so much of your time.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. Well, we thank you for spending your time with us today. We know that every moment is valuable to you, and we appreciate you giving some of your time to us. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the brand new refresh soloprpro.com. The website has gotten a beautiful refresh, so please do check that out, not just because it's chock full of great information, but I hear that membership is reopening very soon, if not by the time this is posted. Is that correct?
Ooh, that is very true. So if you're not on the list yet, go to soloprpro.com, get yourself on the waiting list, and we will notify you. You should do it today, because an email will be going out this week about the membership reopening date. I'm so excited. And please let us know how you like our new website. It's, we got a little modernization going on, a little renovation. And so I'm really happy about it. And I hope that you guys like it too.
Great. And well, until next time, thanks for joining us on That's Solo Life.